Do you know where I can find the Electoral College?
No, I'm from Tennessee.
George W. Bush, the winner of Florida's 25 electoral votes.
That's not fair at all.
Get over it. It's so old by now.
The Electoral College is simply an antique. It's obsolete.
Electoral Dysfunction. Where's the pill for this affliction?
I'm Mo Rocca. Today, Electoral College 101.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Indiana's electors and the alternate electors.
I do.
The Electoral College was created after a summer that the Founding Fathers spent scratching their heads and trying to figure out how to choose a president. One thought was to have Congress choose the president. And they thought, no, that would make the president too dependent on Congress. There were a few people who said, let's have a national election. But that was opposed partly because it was felt that people wouldn't know the candidates. It's a rural country spread out. The other reason against a popular election was that it would have given less power to the slaveholding South. So they came up with this idea of having an indirect election where you choose electors and then the electors choose the president.
Sounds good in theory, but in practice, well, even a third grader can see there are problems.
We're gonna have a little election here, and I'm gonna ask you to choose between two candidates, colored pencils and markers. Who is voting for colored pencils? Okay. 10 votes for colored pencils. Who is voting for markers? 14 for markers. Markers have won the popular vote. And now we're gonna have the real election.
Naturally, they were disappointed. They thought we'd just had the election. But now it was time to warp these young minds by introducing them to the Electoral College. So we broke the class into 5 tables or states. The majority at each table, either markers or colored pencils, would get the table's one electoral vote. Of course, in real life, states have varying amounts of electoral votes, depending on the population.
Table 1's elector, how do you cast your vote?
Markers.
Table 2's elector, how do you cast your vote?
Markers.
Table 3's elector.
Colored pencils.
In the end, the whole election came down to one state.
Table 5's elector. Angel, come on down. This is it, guys. This will decide the whole thing. Elector, how do you cast your vote?
Colored pencils.
What's that?
You're still cheating. Everybody should think it's unfair because it's not just about the elector's vote, it's about everybody's vote.
Oh, Aubrey, you are a rabble-rouser. I mean, clearly you're trying to whip them up into a frenzy.
It has to be fair for everybody who voted for markers, not just for color pencils. It's 14 to 10. It should stay that way.
This guy's a dangerous reformer.
You know, it's not like this happened in real life. Oh, actually it did.
They set up this Electoral College business, and since then, nearly 1 in 10 presidents took the White House without winning the popular vote. Like me, John Quincy Adams.
I'm George W. Bush, and I like to think of myself as the education president, starting with my favorite college, the Electoral College. That's in Florida, right?
The key thing that frustrates people about the Electoral College today is that it sidelines and marginalizes 2/3 to 3/4 of the whole country. Most of us live in red states or blue states. Take our 4 biggest states. 3 of them are safe states. Texas, a red state, California, a blue state, New York, a blue state. Only Florida is sometimes a swing state. That means in 3 of our 4 biggest states, there's no campaigning. The voter turnout rate is like 5 to 10 points lower than it is in the swing states where all the TV ads are. Why should the vast majority of the public have no real role in electing the president? It doesn't make any sense.
There have been more bills in Congress to change the Electoral College than on any other issue. And it's not a partisan cause. Republican President Richard Nixon supported a constitutional amendment to abolish it.
Whoever wins the popular vote should be the next president of the United States.
Well, you don't have to go back to the 60s to find a conservative who was opposed to the Electoral College.
I was in Congress when this fellow pushed something called the Medicare Prescription Drug Plan, and it was the worst piece of legislation I have ever had to sit through, and it was the most heavily lobbied I have ever seen.
And what did it have to do with the Electoral College?
Yes, I'll tell you, it was all about the Electoral College, all about getting him the electoral votes of the state of Florida.
Most Americans love the idea of having a popular vote for president, and the national popular vote legislation is the single most promising avenue we've got to break from the bizarreness of the Electoral College.
Currently, every state except 2 awards all its electoral votes to the winner of its popular vote, creating red and blue states. But with the new legislation, states that sign on will award their electors to the winner of the national popular vote, thereby rendering the Electoral College moot. This legislation will go into effect when the number of electoral votes from participating states totals 270, the magic number needed to win the presidency.
We actually have enough Electoral College votes that we're halfway there, and I think that the National Popular Vote campaign is the bridge to getting us to a direct election of the president, which, will just have us catching up with the rest of the world.